That is weird. For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's like if you have a council member Superman, they just don't say anything. They don't vote yes or no. It would just go down as a no, I think. Or an abstain. We should ask Chris. Maybe she would know. Chris, are we ready? Okay, council and everyone here, welcome to our council meeting tonight. I am Jarrett Waite. I'll be stepping in for Mayor Rosenberg, who's out of town tonight. As the Mayor Pro Tem, I'll step in. I want to welcome tonight from the council. We have Wendell Googler, Denny Drake, and Lena Mathis. We will jump right into our agenda. We'd like to start with our opening ceremony, and we've asked Lena to hear that for us.
If you'll all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are grateful to be gathered this evening. We are grateful to be able to serve the residents of Santa Clara. We are grateful for the recent moisture we have received and look forward to receiving more. We ask that Thy might guide us this evening, that we might have discussions and vote on things that are in the best interests of those that we serve. And we are grateful once again for this city and those who live within it and all those who work for our city and appreciate all of their efforts. And this we pray in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, thank you, Lena. I also need to excuse Councilman. Boy, I'm really on one tonight. Councilman Shakespeare, he is not available tonight. All right, so I don't have any of the yellow sheets. I don't believe any communications and appearances. Council, are there any conflicts or disclosures you need to disclose for any agenda items tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into our working agenda. We do have a public hearing tonight. So that is our public hearing to receive public input regarding the Santa Clara City fiscal year 2021 to 2022 tentative budget. Are you going to present a little bit on this, Brock?
Yes, I'll present.
Okay.
You guys like me to do here, go up there. You guys have to shift to like see me over here. So I'm happy to go down there if it's easy for you guys to look straight ahead. And
Whatever works best for you.
don't matter. Don't matter. It's all fun wherever I'm at. So, all right. So we talked about this back at the first of the month. And there's a few changes to the budget for this coming fiscal year. The couple of changes that have impacted it is at the last time we discussed fire's request for another additional fireman, EMS person. So we added that into the budget. Also, we approved the planner economic development position. So we added those two positions in, which made an impact. Also, as we relooked at the percentages that we do every year in April with Ivans on the percentages for police, fire, EMS, justice court, that percentage has changed slightly. It's been 55-45 with us paying 45% and Ivans 55%. It shifted a little bit. It's now will be 46% Santa Clara and 54% Ivans. So their connections increased far more than ours, but our population increased more than theirs as according to the information we found, our average household population is almost a person higher than what Ivans is. So our population actually closed up. So that percentage tweaked just a little bit, which shifted our budget. So our budget went up just a little bit, adding those positions and that additional expense, which actually is an additional expense. And then also that addition reimbursement is actually less that we'd get from them. So all that shifted our budget to just over 8 million. So $8,018,850, which also then increased the amount of fund balance we'll need to use. We were at just under 400,000. We're now to 600 and roughly 25,000 fund balance we will be using to balance the budget. It still leaves us, the calculations Debbie and I have ran, we still show that we'll, potentially what we're looking at the end of this fiscal year, still looking at about a 22% unrestricted fund balance. So still looking positive there, sitting at that number. So that's the real changes. As I said, so we're shifting up just a little bit with those 2 new positions to just over $8 million. Other than that, there were no changes to the enterprise funds, everything that we discussed previously with the enterprise funds stayed the same. So we're looking at in the water fund still sitting at just under 3 million, 2.292 million in water, sewer, about 841,000, power, 5.472 million, and stormwater at just under 600,000 at 596,000. So still have all of our projects and equipment that staff had requested, which is what has bumped our budget up a fair amount this year. And we are doing a few new things, IT, we getting a new server, which talked to Shelley today. We might not make it till July, so that might actually bump into this fiscal year with the new metering service and all the amount we're putting onto the server is adding up. And so she's going to see if we have to get a new backup system. And then big thing, wildland engine replacement, $300,000 for wildland engine 33 replacement. We're working on the street sweeper. When that gets here, it's been on order. We'll see if it gets here this fiscal year. We actually amended this current fiscal year budget to account for it, but looks like we're probably going to not see it maybe till next year. So, and then Parks they have quite a few projects and equipment, which total about $800,000. Portion of that is coming from the county wrap tax and impact fees. So we're doing the Canyon View parking lot update that we've talked about a few times, working on that. We're having that discussion tomorrow at TRC. We're doing our yearly trade-in of vehicles through enterprise funds. The enterprise funds, we also are doing a substation upgrade at the Hassel substation. That's $200,000 there. So all those projects that we talked about at the budget retreat, and there are in the list. So we're getting a lot of equipment that we've put off for a little while. So, but with that, I will leave that there and answer any questions that council may have.
Council, anything? Okay, well, it is 5:08. Let's open this public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on our upcoming budget? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and let's move into our agenda. We'll get to that in just a moment, the budget. So our consent agenda is an approval of our claims and minutes for April 14th, 2021, the regular city council meeting on that day, and then claims for April 28th. We have our calendar of events. May 5th is our city council work meeting. May 12th and the 26th are regular city council meetings. Council, I'd look for a motion on this.
I'd move that we approve the consent agenda as listed.
I second it.
Okay, motion by Denny and a second by Wendell. Any discussion on that motion? I see this is a money item, so we'll do a roll call. Wendell?
Aye.
Denny?
Aye.
Aye. And Lena?
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. All right, let's move into our general business. C1 is consider approval of the Santa Clara City fiscal year budget 2021 through 2022. That's tentative. Brock just presented that to us. Council, do you want to discuss anything in that budget? Or have any other questions? And if not, I'd look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Santa Clara City fiscal year budget for 2021 to 2022, tentative budget for 2021 to 2022 as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion by Lena and a second by Denny. This is also a money item. Let's go the other way. Lena?
Aye.
Aye. Denny?
Aye.
And Wendell?
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you, council. All right, let's move on to C2, which is consider approval of the amended building official job description presented by Brock.
Yeah, so the last council meeting, we adopted the new job description for the city planner economic development position. And that position came from taking, really redoing, taking from the city building official position, all the planning and zoning duties out of there. So we created this, his position, that position has now changed. And so we have back here the new job description that taking those items out of his duties or their duties. So we just bring this back for approval of the new building officials job description. So it's basically the same, just minus planning and zoning duties as that was in the previous job description.
Okay, very good. Council, are there any questions or concerns about the new job description? Okay, I'd look for a motion. Wendell, it's your turn.
I move that we approve the updated building inspector job description.
Okay, a motion by Denny
Second.
and a second by Lena. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries. All right, we're just moving right along. We'll move on to item C3, which is consider approval of ordinance 2021-05, an ordinance amending the municipal code to promote water use efficiency and landscape irrigation, also presented by Brock.
All right, so this came from the Washington County Water Conservancy District asking municipalities to enact this time of day watering ordinance to help with water use and water efficiency in the county. This time of day ordinance states that irrigation within the city should only be done between the hours of 8 p.m. and 10 a.m., which would significantly increase the efficiency of water irrigation. Also will help with the public interest and enhances community economic, environmental, recreational, and aesthetic resources. As we know, right now we're talking about water conservation throughout the county. It'll be back next week on our agenda. Trying to do the Water Conservancy District is asking cities trying to do their part of helping conserve water and to be efficient with the water that we use. It does have inside this ordinance that these parameters are specifically to culinary water. If somebody or the municipality or business or home is on secondary water, that the time of day ordinance does not apply to that. As it states in here, the secondary untreated or reclaimed wastewater water systems have limited capacity and therefore are exempt from this ordinance. Facilities irrigated with secondary water systems include public amenities, parks, golf courses, schools, cemeteries, and some residential neighborhoods. Using secondary water for irrigation extends our water resources and saves residents millions of dollars in annual treatment costs. Also, if you have put in a new lawn, it has a few stipulations here. If you put in a new lawn that requires frequent irrigation for establishment of purposes within 90 days of planning, or there's short cycles required for testing, inspecting, and maintaining irrigation systems, or other situations as permitted by the city. So there are a few things we're working to get all of our parks and that we can on secondary water. Majority of them, we have some that we are converting over. So that's the ordinance. It states on the ordinance here as with an effective date as April 28th. in the request from the Water Conservancy District, they want by June 1, which I think I would probably make that change to do June 1 so we can do some education over the next 30 days. So that we just missed the utility bills going out. So we would like to have that 30 days to do some education, get the notice out through our social media. Also in the next billing cycle, we'll have some bills. We're going to talk to Christelle about creating some pamphlets. So when we do go out and if somebody is watering outside of that time frame, we have a pamphlet and we can hand to them and explain to them why we have the ordinance, what the purpose have it possibly in there, why we ask them to water during that time, why it's more efficient, it's better. So we're going to work on some of those things to have that. So that's why we'd ask for June 1. The only thing that also that this doesn't have, and the water district didn't say anything about is there any fine or anything associated with somebody who doesn't want to comply with it? There's nothing written in the ordinance as this was what was sent over by the water district. So I think it would be up to us if we want to implement any fine that would be associated with someone who does not want to comply with that, whether that is, kind of a warning, third time is it like a $50 fine and it escalates from there. But that's up to council if you guys would like to go that route. But as it is written from the water district, there is no fine or consequence for non-compliance.
That's because they can't levy one. It has to be the municipality that does that. So that's why.
Okay.
Okay, council, questions, discussion?
Will there be any policing of this? I mean, will we be sending people out to check on a regular basis, or
Mm,
we're gonna have
I'd basically
neighbors
Neighbors turning
report
on
neighbors?
No, my thought is it would be if they're out, whether it's, code enforcement or, staff's out and they see somebody. My hope is just that somebody's watering, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we can go knock on a door. Hopefully somebody's home and we can do some education. We can speak with them.
I think
I would hope that we can get,
we'd be better served by being kind rather than being policemen.
yeah. And that's a difficult one. That's why I say is there something for non-compliance down the road? I mean, if we've been to the house 4 times, 5 times, and they just don't want to, do we at that point? But hopefully we can do a lot through just some education and speaking with people that are watering during those hours, that we can just get them to see. People might have their clock set and they've been that way for 10 years and never peeked at them. So hopefully we can have to do it without having to come to that point. But I leave that to council, just if there was something you wanted to go that route, or address it at another time if we feel like it has become an issue and then we can bring it back. So
My personal opinion is I feel like unless it's being abused, that we don't do anything with it other than just enact the ordinance and educate them and then follow through if there is abuses.
Agreed.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially with Brad and the park.
That's why we're going to all secondary water. So we can water all we want. Just kidding. There would be one exception. I could see that if somebody put in new landscape and they had some new sod and they wanted to water it during the day, in order to protect their investment, they would want to water probably a couple times during the day. That's the only exception I could see.
yeah, and the ordinance does state that they get under section 4A, new lawn that requires frequent irrigation for establishment purposes within 90 days of planting. So they have 90 days they can water to get that established.
So just make sure I'm understanding this correctly. It's irrigation of lawns and landscapes. So like gardens. Is there anything else you would water that might be during a different time that would be allowed? Or is gardening considered landscaping?
Well, I think what they're trying to do is limit us on what we use potable water for. If they've got secondary systems, there's a different requirement. So to me, it would be applicable to all potable. I wouldn't want to irrigate gardens during the heat of the day either. So I think this is just a general use ordinance that makes people aware of what the situation is here in Washington County on the southern end of the state.
I'm just thinking back to like I have thornless blackberries that I water extra in the afternoon every summer when they're fruiting because they need that extra moisture during the heat of the day. It's a drip system, but that would technically be against this ordinance, right?
I think
Yeah.
so.
So maybe the water district knows more than I do about watering things like that. Yeah, I just want to make sure we don't have like any gardeners that get upset because they get a knock on the door and they're just trying to take care of their plants the way they want to, which is probably not really the purpose of this ordinance. It's more just lawns and landscaping.
I guess if they wanted to have some extra water during the day, they could fill a bucket the night before and then take it out and
True.
I don't know, thinking outside the box.
Well, I'm assuming we could always make changes or adjustments if we have issues or complaints or big abusers, things like that. Okay, any other questions or concerns on it, council? Sounds like we don't want to have any sort of enforcement in the ordinance right now. Okay, then I would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 2021-05, amending the municipal code to promote water use efficiency.
Okay, a motion by Lena,
Second.
a second by Denny.
Oh, can I add one change? That the effective date be modified to June 1st.
And you okay with that in your second?
Yes, that's.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to approve ordinance 2021-05, an ordinance amending the municipal code to promote water use efficiency and landscape irrigation with one change of making the effective date June 1st, 2021. Any other just questions on that motion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Okay, move on to C4, which is consider approving a proclamation setting May 2021 as Building Safety Month in Santa Clara City, presented by Corey.
Yes, prevent, prepare, and protect. Building codes save. Modern, regularly updated building codes and a strong system of code enforcement ensure that individuals and communities are safe in the buildings where they live and work and play. Campaign to support. This campaign is supported by 4 core themes that will be highlighted through May 2021. They include week 1, energy and innovation, making communities more resilient with science and technologies-based code requirements. Week 2, May 10th through the 16th, train the next generation, working with the industrial to train the next generation of building safety professionals. Week 3 would be May 17th through the 23rd, water safety, helping to make smart decisions about water safety and conservation, sort of what we just talked about a minute ago. Week 4, May 24th through the 31st, disaster preparedness, making sure our communities are prepared for natural disaster and man-made disasters. So just wanted to bring that forward for approval. The city every year reaches out to the elementary school. Because of COVID, we'll probably just do like a coloring book and some pencils. Usually our staff goes out and educates the kids on what building safety is and smoke detectors and stuff like that. We also put a variety of things on our website, community outreach, like ready.gov for earthquakes or disasters, how to be prepared. So a lot of outreach on the computer. So
Okay, thank you, Corey. All right, council, any questions or discussion on this item? If not, I'd look for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the May 2021 as a building safety month in Santa Clara.
Okay, got a motion by Wendell.
Want me to do it? Second.
Second.
I think Lena beat you. Second by Lena. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes unanimously. Okay, we're into our mayor and council reports. So let's start with Lena.
Okay. Mine will be fairly brief. We did have our Tri-City meeting for the shack. It's now back on. And it was actually really good. We had a good opportunity to look at budgets and projected revenues and discussions. So I'll just share some statistics. Maybe that will help. In 2020, our residents, so for usage of that facility, they accounted for 6.91% of the usage of that facility. Our 5-year average is 7.99%. So we were a full percent down last year with our usage. I'm not sure the reason for that because the numbers didn't really change as it related to COVID. So they don't know why those numbers changed. I did find out that how they determine that is every time you visit the pool, when they check you in and have you pay, they ask for your zip code of where you're located. So as long as people are providing the zip code for here, then that's where that 6.9% comes in. Based on the agreement that we signed and Ivan signed with St. George, we see in our budget there's a revenue or an expense line for the shack. That's directly related to if the shortfall that they have every year, and we contribute based on our percentage of usage to whatever that equivalent dollar amount is. We did look at the revenue numbers for this year, and they are significantly down. So I was glad to see in our budget that we had increased the amount that we may need to pay them, because I think it will be higher. They are putting in a new infiltration system. It should actually help, but it has a 3-year cost recovery rate. Basically, they have to flush the water out of the system twice a week. And so because of that, this new infiltration system costs them about $275,000 to put in. But when they do the flush, and that sounds really bad, but when they do the flush, it is about 80,000 gallons of water every month that they have to flush because of the newness of the technology that they're putting in. It will save them about that much. It also will increase the what do you call it? All the gunk that's in the water. Instead of having 18 to 20 microns that come through that system now, it will reduce it down to 1 to 2 microns, and it includes UV lighting. So it'll be much healthier, much safer, should just be a lot more efficient, but it's at a cost of $275,000.
Well, let me add to that. Though on our shortfall, it's only on operating. Any capital expenditures that they do there is not, we don't pay for any of that. It's only on the operating. So
Correct.
that would be nothing that.
Correct. However, this $275,000 is being deemed maintenance, not a capital expenditure, just as an FYI. I did clarify today. Let's see, one other thing that they did let us know is that because we're part of the agreement, Santa Clara is allowed to have 1 day. They usually align it with St. George, aligns it with their Heritage Days event. So if we wanted to align it like with our Swiss Days event, we are allowed 1 day a year where we can offer free swim to our residents to go and use the facility. Apparently, we have never taken advantage of that in the past. Maybe we didn't know about it, but now we do. So if there's a date, maybe as we get closer to maybe Swiss days, it'd be a great opportunity if we want to say, hey, this is our day for our residents to use the pool. They could go and use it for free for the day. I just have to make sure I let them know what day we would like to do that. And then lastly, St. George, they're also working on their budget as well. And as part of what they're proposing in their budget, just because it will affect our residents, they are going to start instituting non-resident fees for various activities in their city. The two that will impact us the most will be the pickleball courts that they have. And I know we have our own, but apparently a lot of about 20% of the usage of their courts are from residents from Ivins and Santa Clara. So that will affect us. And then their youth sports. So for all of our residents who go and use their programs for soccer, basketball, I know we kind of do our own baseball, but soccer, basketball, flag football, they are going to differentiate those between residents that live in their city and non-residents, and our non-residents will pay more to participate in their city. So I've asked them to get me some numbers on what our percentage of activity in using them is. And if it's really high, maybe it's something that we need to look at having in our own city rather than having to go to St. George, but something we could consider down the road. And that's all for my Tri-City meeting. And then last would be, we had the opportunity to go to the league meetings last week. And I'm only just going to highlight a couple of things. One, the state of Utah offers what's called a Get Healthy Award. It's for communities that participate in mental health, physical health, food health. There's 6 different categories. I've talked to Brad, and we're already doing the majority of the things that are required in order to earn this award with Get Healthy Utah. So we're short in one area, and I'm going to contact Chief Flowers, and we're going to see what we can do. And but just wanted to let you know that we're going to try and get that award, and because we're already doing it, we might as well be recognized for providing all those services in our city. So, and Brad's agreed to help, so we're good to go. And then they did let us know that we should expect in the special session that the governor is going to be calling that House Bill 98, which is the inspections and plan reviews, is going to come back. They've addressed the FEMA issues, and they've removed the issues that they had with that out of the bill. And so they expect it to come back and be signed in that special session. So just know that it's probably going to happen. I think they said they were meeting in May, but I haven't seen a formal date yet. And then whoever, I'm assuming it was Christelle, but whoever it was that put together the video that highlighted our city as part of the city kickoff for the league, kudos. It was absolutely fantastic. So appreciate you doing that. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Lena. All right, I'll go next. So I just have 2 takeaways from League. Well, I guess 3 things I can report on. So I got to go do a tour of the Quail water treatment plant. I hadn't been there before, so that was really interesting to see how they make the water much better coming out of the reservoir there, and how it pumps between the 2 reservoirs and everything. It was really interesting. And then kind of a big aha moment I had in one of the meetings was I attended the Resort and Small Rural Hub Caucus, and we don't exactly fit in that group. It was Moab and Park City and those sorts of cities, but we do have our own little oasis here and plenty of vacation rentals, and we do them quite a bit differently than other cities. And so like in Springdale, they mentioned that any house that was workforce housing previously is now turned into an Airbnb in Springdale and in Tokerville and now into Hurricane. And so all their workers have nowhere to live, basically. And I just had no idea that Airbnb would reduce affordable housing, is basically what they were saying. And so I just think, thank goodness in Santa Clara, we've made a zone for it, so it hasn't crept in and just taken over all the affordable housing in our city. But the city manager from Springdale said, I can't blame these homeowners. Like if you're going from 800 a month to 200 a night, like why wouldn't you do that? So it's kind of just the way the market works. But I guess in Tokerville, there's no restrictions. Like there's no zoning, just any house can be an Airbnb, and that's just kind of ruined their workforce housing. And so he said, now, if you want to come in and set up a business, you basically have to plan on $600,000 to $800,000 to buy a house somewhere for your employees to live in. Otherwise, they'll be commuting from St. George all the way out there. And even then, they might not find housing here. So anyways, I just thought that was really interesting. So something definitely have to keep an eye on. And then just one takeaway that I don't think got in the news or the paper from the governor's speech he gave at the end of the conference, just one line really stuck out to me. And he said, if you are vaccinated, act like it. And he didn't elaborate. But what I think he was saying was it's okay to have a barbecue with your family if you're all vaccinated. It's okay to get together for a birthday party if everyone is vaccinated. Like we still have to be careful, but we don't have to be overly careful if everyone is vaccinated. And he also said that there's enough vaccines that everyone in the state could be vaccinated and like through their whole cycle by the end of May. So, he was hoping for a July 4th back to normal, but really like a June could be back to normal in Utah. And he said that almost all the regulations that are still in place because of the bill that was passed end in like 2 weeks. So anyways, I just thought that was really interesting. In other reports.
And several folks tore off their masks when he said that.
Yeah, because everyone in the room was wearing masks. It was a group
It was
larger than
great.
50, and so we were doing what we're supposed to. But yeah, it was interesting. I attended the Arbor Day event that the park department put on, and it was very well done. We really enjoyed it. It was weird to just be all together as a community and enjoying something. And Cheryl did a great job putting it together, and Brad's crew were entertaining, and there was a gnome running around. It was a lot of fun. And anyways, it was really good. And then Brock and I did have a meeting with TDS about a week and a half ago to discuss kind of internet in Santa Clara and our discussions with Utopia. And like it was a really productive meeting. Brenda Cody was the one that met with us. And then she also had one of her head salesmen and then a network engineer on the call as well. And they brought up some really good questions we need to ask Utopia. And then we're just really glad to be brought into the conversation. They did state that their service is getting a lot better in Santa Clara. So I've been trying to reach out to some of my neighbors and verify that. And they were going to get back to us on what fiber they have in the city and kind of how it's all working. So anyways, we just kind of started that process to make sure they're included in that. And then I did spend quite a bit of time with Utopia at the league. I was probably at their booth for about an hour asking all sorts of questions. And so we do have Roger Timmerman scheduled to come on June 2nd, our work meeting in June, to kind of give us a presentation of what it would look like, what it would cost, and then he'll give us plenty of time to ask questions and see if it's something we want to consider. And then my last thing is regarding our new planner position. I was talking to David Whitehead last week, and he's still concerned that some of the residents or some of the owners in Paradise Village are remitting their sales taxes from where they live, not in Santa Clara. And so he thinks we're probably missing out on some money. And he said it could be substantial. He wasn't really sure, but he's done some calculations and he thinks it could be substantial. And so I was curious if we could add that to the job description of because that's economic development, basically. That is one of our economic drivers in the community. And I don't know exactly how that would work out, but he's pretty convinced that some of the owners, they're paying their sales taxes, but they pay it from where they live instead of as if it were in Santa Clara. And so we'd have to get that resolved somehow. And that's all I have to report.
Swiss Days is moving forward. They had their first meeting And any ideas that you have as to what we need to do with Swiss days, if you could pass that on to me or to our committee, Laney or Sister Ann. Anyway,
Do they see any problems with having an open Swiss days like we've had in the past?
no, I think they're going to move forward with an open Swiss days. This will be back to normal unless something happens between now and then. But the planning is going ahead as if it were normal.
Good.
And I think, Brad, have you heard any more from the BLM on the shooting park?
This week, they're doing the TE&E for the turtles and plants. So once we get that information back, then we'll start moving forward. But, then we'll know what we're dealing with or what mitigation we might need to do for that. I did ask, and I did send a letter to the area manager asking for assistance, and they said that they weren't going to. I think you might have seen that email.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've assigned that out and just waiting for the report to come back.
Correct.
And at that point, I think there will be a decision to be made to see whether we can even move forward. At this point, I saw where the BLM has put up their surplus ground for sale over in the Hurricane area, and they're waiting for appeals on that. So it'll be interesting to see how it progresses, especially under this current rule of signatures that are being passed around. So other than that, I don't have anything.
So I guess you could pass on that maybe we have a swim day as part of Swiss days. Right?
Yeah, I wrote that down.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
All right, Wendell.
We haven't had any meetings since we last met, so no report.
Okay, very good. Staff, anything pressing that you want to present to us tonight?
I'll just add on your discussion of the resort cities and that at UCMA that I was at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, one of the discussions was on remote working, and Park City in specific. They're pretty much all remote working. That's what they've gone to because of the fact that employees can't find housing in Park City, so they're all having to commute. So they pretty much you can 100% remote work at Park City. That's what they've had to go to because of the housing, which, I mean, I'd hate to we ever end up in that, but that's the situation that they've gone to. And it's a one that even some of our neighboring ones, they've gone, they're allowing people to remote work from, I mean, about anywhere you want to now. There's certain positions we will never need you in the office. But if you decide, the one told us, I think they were moving back east, but said if you are needed in the office, it's on your dime to fly out here. But they said, maybe once or twice a year, maybe, but there's a lot that are going that Eagle Mountain. They're like assistant city manager. He goes in the office once a week. That's what they've gone to. They have people working out of Cache Valley all over. I mean, so hate that we end up that our housing can't have staff that lives in our neighborhood. So
Yeah, for sure. All right, anything else? Okay, very good.
Quiet.
Yes, do we need an executive session tonight?
we do not.
We do not. Okay, now just look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Denny and a second by Wendell. All in favor, say aye.
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 And congratulations.
Thank you.
Success.